I just wanted to confirm if my voice is coming clearly. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Voice is clear. Screen is also properly visible.
Hare Krishna. So we are in the second canto, first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the essence of the chapter is the cosmic manifestation, where it is described in a wonderful nectarian detail as to the manifestation of the universe. And we have seen 21 shlokas till now, and today we are going to continue from the shloka number 22. And these 21 shlokas, basically Maharaj Parikshit is requesting Sukadeva Goswami to talk about the manifestation of the Lord and how is his role in the manifestation of the universe. So this is the essence of this particular chapter. So let us continue from today's shloka, which is shloka number 22, and we will start with the Mangalacharan or the Pranam mantra. The as I used to say before, the objective and the goal of the Pranam mantra is that we are praying to the Lord for two things. One is that we are requesting him to give us the intelligence to understand the shlokas, and B is that we are also requesting him to give us the determination to apply the instructions from the shlokas in our life. The first one is kind of okay, but the second one is very difficult. So this is the two kinds of things which we are broadly praying to the Lord in the Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiryayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So let us go through the shloka. Rajavacha Yata Sandaryate Brahman Dharanayatra Sammata Yadrishi Vahare Dashu Purushasya Manomalam. Rao Prabhu, do you mind doing the reading the synonyms, translation, and the purport? Hare Krishna.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. The fortunate King Parikshit, inquiring further, said, O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied and how the conception can be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. Purport. The dirty things in the heart of a conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. A conditioned soul is surrounded by the manifold miseries of material existence, but on account of his gross ignorance, he is unable to remove the troubles due to dirty things in the heart, accumulated during the long prison life in the material world. He actually meant to serve the will of the Supreme Lord, but on account of the dirty things in the heart, he likes to serve his concocted desires. These desires, instead of giving him any peace of mind, create new problems and thus bind him to the cycle of repeated birth and death. These dirty things of fruitive work and eh, eh, em- empiric philosophy can be removed only by association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord, being omnipotent, can offer his association by his inconceivable potentials. Thus, persons who are unable to pin their faith on the personal feature of the Absolute are given a chance to associate his Virat Rupa, or the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. The cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord is a feature of his unlimited potencies. Since the potent and potents are identical, even the conception of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, now, if you read the translation,
there is one more
it is said that fortunate king. This is a very
Prabhu, there is
I
one
don't know
more
how to
paragraph
say
in
this.
this.
If you see that we all know that Maharaj Parikshit is going to be bitten by a snake after 7 days, but that person who is going to leave his body in 7 days is referred to as the fortunate person. So we need to understand what real fortune is. So it is mentioned in the scriptures that the real fortune is the ability, is the opportunity to associate with Vaishnavas. Real fortune is the opportunity to experience the mercy of the Lord. Real fortune is the opportunity to chant the holy names of the Lord without deviation, without disturbance, with attention and focus. Real fortune is the opportunity to have such a circumstance to be able to serve the Lord and his devotees at all times. So this is what we need to understand, that are we fortunate and are we not? So this word fortunate is a very nice insertion and nice adjective for Maharaj Parikshit in this particular shloka, and is requesting Sukadeva Goswami to describe in full detail as to how the mind has to be applied and where we have to focus so that the dirty things can be removed. So the first paragraph is very self-explanatory. There is no need for me to do any more explanations. Srila Prabhupada's purport is very simple. So I request Sushil Prabhu to read the second paragraph. Hare Krishna. Sushil Kumar Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Maharaj Parikshit was already directly connected with the personal feature of the Lord Sri Krishna, and as such, he had no need to inquire from Sukdev Goswami about where and how to apply the mind in the impersonal Virat Roop of the Lord. But he inquired about after a detailed description of the matter for the benefit of others who are unable to conceive of the transcendental personal feature of the Lord as the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. The non-devotee class of the men cannot think of the personal feature of the Lord because of their poor fund of knowledge. The personal form of the Lord, like Rama or Krishna, is completely revolting to them. The mission of the the Supreme Personality of man. Such men are ignorant of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. By the inconceivable potency of the Lord, he can move in human society or in any other society of living beings and yet remain the same omnipotent Lord without deviating in the slightest form from his transcendental position. So, for the benefit of men who are unable to accept the Lord in his personal eternal form, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the Sukdev Goswami how to fix the mind on him in the beginning, and the Goswami replied in detail as follows.
Hare Krishna. So Maharaj Parikshit, we all know that when he was in the womb of Uttara, the Brahmastra was sent at Uttara, and by Lord Sri Krishna protected the womb by his presence. And it is very nicely described that in his womb, Maharaj Parikshit saw Lord Krishna, and when he came out of his mother's womb, he started searching for that Lord. And that was the reason why he was given the name Parikshit. Parikshit means examining. So that kind of a personality, that kind of a king, that kind of a devotee, Maharaj Parikshit is well aware of the concentrating the mind and all those things. And the question which he is asking is basically for the benefit of the common man. Like how when Arjuna, when Arjuna asked questions, he was asking the questions on others' behalf and not only for himself. Similarly, here, this question is basically for the benefit of the common man and not for Maharaj Parikshit. That is what is being nicely brought about. So now, this particular shloka, Maharaj Parikshit is asking Sukadeva Goswami to describe as to how the mind has to apply it. Let us go to the next shloka, which is shloka number 23. Sri Sukha Vacha Jitashano Jita Swaso Jita Sango Jitendriyaha Stule Bhagavato Rupe Manasandharaye Diya. Can I request Sumati Mataji to read the translation and purport? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Sumati Mataji, are you there?
I will read.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, please proceed.
Sukdev Goswami answered, one should control the sitting posture, regulate the breathing process by the yogic pranayam, and thus control pranayam, and thus control the mind and senses, and with intelligence apply the mind to the gross potencies of the Lord, called the Viratru. The materially absorbed mind of the conditioned soul does not allow him to transcend the limit of the bodily conception of self, and thus the yoga system for meditation, controlling the sitting posture and breathing process and fixing the mind upon the Supreme is prescribed in order to mold the character of the gross materialist. Unless such materialists are able to cleanse the materially absorbed mind, it is impossible for them to concentrate upon thoughts of transcendence. And to do so, one may fix one's mind on the gross material or external feature of the Lord. The different parts of the gigantic form of the Lord are described in the following verses. The materialistic men are very anxious to have some mystic powers as a result of such a controlling process. But the real purpose of the yogic regulations is to eradicate the accumulated dirty things like lust, anger, avarice, and all such material contaminations. In the mystic yogi, if the mystic yogi is diverted by the accompanying feats of mystic control, then his mission of yogic success is a failure. But the ultimate aim is God realization. He is therefore recommended to fix his gross materialistic mind by a different conception and thus realize the potency of the Lord. As soon as the potencies are understood by the instrumental manifestations of the transcendence, one automatically advances to the next step. Gradually the stage of full realization becomes possible for him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, in this particular shloka, Sukadeva Goswami starts by the sitting posture and regulating the breathing and then controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. So this is something which all of us are aware that when we do yoga, the first step is to have a clean place and then do a proper posture and then regulate the breathing. So there are many people who are kind of questioning these things as to do they really, is it really necessary, the sitting posture and the breathing and all those things to for controlling the mind. So there was a lecture of Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj that when you go to a school, why do you wear uniform? Why uniform is prescribed when we go to a school? We can go in whatever way we want. The teacher is going to teach, the student is going to listen and understand what difference that the uniform makes. So when we go to a temple, why don't we go in what do you say, shorts or something like that? Why do we try to wear something traditional like dhoti or kurta or pajama? So we all know that the mind is very conditioned, and chanchalami manah Krishna. So it gets disturbed, it gets wavered at the slightest opportunity. So the atmosphere and the environment has to be set in such a way so that we don't give the mind or the senses or the intelligence the opportunity to deviate from the Lord. So that is the rationale, that is the context background, that is the logic behind creating a proper environment when we are trying to focus on the Lord. So that is what Sukadeva Goswami is starting with. He didn't start straight away with chanting. He first stopped, since he has only 7 days, since he asked a question as to how to purify the mind. He's talking first about the sitting posture. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is very nicely explaining that the personal feature of the Lord is something which is necessary for our mind to focus. And there are some people who are not able to accept the personal feature of the Lord, and when they do that, they somehow think that the Lord is also a normal human being. For such people, the Virat Rupa or the impersonal form is there, where the Lord is present in each and every thing. Kan mein Bhagavan hai. So that let them at least start and then go to the next step. So this particular shloka talks about Sukadeva Goswami is indicating that first start with the sitting posture, then the breathing, then the next things like the mind, senses, and control of mind, senses, and intelligence comes. So in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the hierarchy of this is very clearly explained by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. So he says that the lowermost are those objects which don't have life. So which we see in front of us, the furniture, the TV, whatever it is. Then the next layer is the senses which come into contact with them, either by seeing or by smelling or by listening, whatever it is. Then the next above the senses is the mind, because the signal from the signal from the senses is taken by the mind. And above the mind is the intelligence. So then when the mind becomes attracted to the senses, it wants to enjoy that. So then it sends the command to the intelligence, means it sends the signal to the intelligence. Then above the intelligence is the soul. So it is if the intelligence has to make a right decision, to not carry away by the senses, but to listen to the instructions of the soul, we have to first control the mind. So it is very, in the third chapter, he is very nicely explaining as to why we have to why controlling of the mind is the first step to devotional progress. Actually, in the second, in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is based on Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna uses the name Nitya Vairina, eternal enemy. And he says that when we are looking for, when we have problems, we always conceive about enemies or the sources of the problems. And 99% we always look outside. Lord Krishna says, don't bother about looking outside whenever you have any problem. Your enemy is actually inside, and he gives the name of Nitya Vairina. Nitya means eternal, Vairina means enemy. He says that Nitya Vairina, eternal enemy, is lust. And this lust comes when our senses are in contact with such, when senses get attached to the objects, and the mind is want to execute, want to satisfy the senses. So the Lord says that the first step is to control your mind. So the same thing is very nicely told by Sukadeva Goswami here and explained wonderfully in the purport of Srila Prabhupada. Let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 24. Visheshastasya dehoham dehoyam stavishtascha stavishtascha staviyasam yatredam vyajyate vishwam bhutam bhavyam bhavachasat visheshas tasya dehoyam stavishtascha staviyasam yatredam vyajyate vishwam bhutam bhavyam bhavachasat. I saw a message that by Sumati Mataji that she was not able to unmute at that time. How about now, Mataji?
Yeah, I can unmute. I am here. Sorry, Prabhu.
Okay, so you can you read the translation and the purport, Hare Krishna?
Yes, Prabhu. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. This gigantic manifestation of the phenomenal material world as a whole is the personal body of the absolute truth, wherein the universal resultant past, present, and future of material time is experienced. Purport. Anything, either material or spiritual, is but an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 13.13, the omnipotent Lord has his transcendental eyes, heads, and other bodily parts distributed everywhere. He can see, hear, touch, or manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, for he is present everywhere as the super soul of all infinitesimal souls. Although he has his particular abode in the absolute world, the relative world is also his phenomenal representation because it is nothing but an expansion of his transcendental energy. Although he is in his abode, his energy is distributed everywhere, just as the sun is localized as well as expanded everywhere, since the rays of the sun, being non-different from the sun, are accepted as expansions of the sun disk. In the Vishnu Puran 1.1 point 22.52 is, it is said that as fire expands its rays and heat from one place, similarly the Supreme Spirit, the personality of Godhead, expands himself by his manifold energy everywhere and anywhere. The phenomenal manifestation of the gigantic universe is only a part of his Virat body. Less intelligent men cannot conceive of the transcendental, all spiritual form of the Lord, but they are astounded by his different energies, just as the aborigines are struck with wonder by the manifestation of lightning, a gigantic mountain, or a hugely expanded banyan tree. The aborigines praise the strength of tiger and the elephant because of their superior energy and strength. The asuras cannot recognize the existence of the Lord, although there are vivid descriptions of the Lord in the revealed scriptures. Although the Lord incarnates and exhibits his uncommon strength and energy, and although he is accepted as the supreme personality of Godhead by learned scholars and saints like Vyasadeva, Narada, Asita, and Devala in the past, and by Arjun in the Bhagavad Gita, as also by the acharyas like Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhava, and Lord Sri Chaitanya in the modern age. The asuras do not accept any evident proof from the revealed scriptures, nor do they recognize the authority of the great acharyas. They want to see with their own eyes at once. Therefore, they can see the gigantic body of the Lord as Virat, which will answer the challenge. And since they are accustomed to paying homage to superior material strength like that of the tiger, elephant, and lightning, they can offer respect to the Virat Rupa. Lord Krishna, by the request of Arjuna, exhibited his Virat Rupa for the Asuras. A pure devotee of God, being unaccustomed to look into such a mundane, gigantic form, the Lord requires special vision for the purpose. The Lord therefore favored Arjuna with special vision for looking into his Virat Rupa, which is described in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The Virat Rupa of the Lord was specially manifested, not for the benefit of Arjuna, but for that unintelligent class of men who accept anyone and everyone as an incarnation of the Lord, and so mislead the general mass of people. For them, the indication is that one should ask the chief incarnation to exhibit his Virat Rupa and thus be established as an incarnation. The Virat Rupa manifestation of the Lord is simultaneously a challenge to the atheist and a favor for the asuras, who can think of the Lord as Virat and thus gradually cleans the dirty things from their hearts and to become qualified to actually see the transcendental form of the Lord in the near future. This is a favor the all-merciful to the atheist and the gross materialist. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhi. So in this particular shloka, so Sukadeva Goswami tells to Maharaj Parikshit, so that this material world is actually the personification, is the manifestation of the personal body of the Lord, where the past, present, and future is experienced. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains about the Virat Rupa, and then he also gives a wonderful example of the sun, that the sun is non-different from the rays, because the rays of the sun carry the light of the sun. But at the same time, we cannot say that since we are we are able to tolerate the rays of the sun, we can tolerate the sun also. So we all know that even when we go of kilometers before the sun, we will all get burned. So similarly, the personal form of the Lord and the impersonal form of the Lord, in terms of the presence of the Lord, it is there. But in terms of it being understood by different people, there is a difference. And very nicely it is explained that by exhibiting the Virat Rupa, the universal form of the Lord, he did two things. One is that he gave a challenge to those atheists and those pseudo-theists. Pseudo-theists means those who create their own gods and then follow them. That if you believe that X, Y, Z is an incarnation of the Lord, let that person exhibit Virat Rupa, universal form. And at the same time, for those people who want to actually see the transcendental form of the Lord, he is giving them. He is also showing them as to the supremacy. So we all know that the Lord doesn't need to show his Virat Rupa to demonstrate his supremacy. So when we had this senior devotees come to Damodar Desh, so this example was given that the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed, so he irrespective, it doesn't require him to be accepted by anyone. For example, if I say that I don't accept Sheikh Mohammed as the ruler of Dubai, is it going to make any difference to him? No, I am an idiot. That's the only thing which will be different. So similarly, it doesn't require if people don't, if someone doesn't accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is that person's loss, as simple as that. So that is what it is coming out here also. So for devotees to perceive, for people who believe to perceive his presence, also he is showing the Virat Rupa. So in this particular shloka, Sukadeva Goswami is informing Maharaj Parikshit. So first he starts about the meditation, the mind, the sitting posture. Then he talks about the manifestation of this material world. So let us go into the next shloka, which is shloka number 25. Andakoshe sariresmin saptavarana samyute vairaja purusho yosau Bhagavan dharanashrayah. Hare Krishna. Uday Prabhu, can I request you to read the translation and purport?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The gigantic universal form of the personality of Godhead within the body of the universal shell, which is covered by sevenfold material elements, is the subject for the Virat conception. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Simultaneously, the Lord has multifarious other forms, and all of them are identical with the original fountainhead form of the Lord Sri Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it has been proven that the original transcendental and the eternal form of the Lord is Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. But by his inconceivable internal potency, Atmaya Maya, he can expand himself by multifarious forms and incarnations simultaneously without being diminished in his full potency. He is complete, and although innumerable complete forms emanate from him, he is still complete without any loss. That is his spiritual or internal potency. In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, manifested his Virata Roop just to convince the less intelligent class of men who cannot conceive of the Lord as appearing just like a human being, that he factually has the potency of his claim to be the supreme absolute person without any rival or superior. Materialistic men can think, although very imperfectly, of the huge universal space comprehending an innumerable number of planets as big as sun. They can see only the circular sky overhead without any information that this universe, as well as many other hundreds of thousands of universes, are each covered by the sevenfold material covering of water, fire, air, sky, ego, Neumann, and material nature. Just like a huge football, pumped and covered, floating on the water of the casual ocean, wherein the Lord is lying as Mahavishnu, all the universe in seed are emanating from the breathing of the Mahavishnu, who is but part of a partial expansion of the Lord, and all the universes presided over by the Brahmas vanish when the Mahavishnu withdraws his big breath. In this way, the material world are being created and vanished by the supreme will of the Lord. The poor, foolish materialistic can just imagine how ignorantly he puts forward an insignificant creature to become his rival incarnation simply on the allegation of a dying man. The Virat Roop was particularly exhibited by the Lord just to give lessons to such foolish men, so that one can accept a person as the incarnation of Godhead only if such a person is able to exhibit such a Virat Roop as Lord Krishna did. The materialistic person may concentrate his mind upon the Virat or gigantic form of the Lord in his own interest and as recommended by Sukadev Goswami. But he must be on his guard not to be misled by pretenders who claim to be the identical person as Lord Krishna, but are not able to act like him or exhibit the Virat Roop, comprehending the whole of the universe. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, in this particular shloka, Sukadeva Goswami is continuing about the universal form of the Lord, and it is telling that it is like a shell, and it is covered by 7 elements in different layers. And in the shloka, Prabhupada is giving the details of those 7 layers, which are basically material coverings. We have water, which is the first layer. Then after that, we have the fire. Then we have air. Then we have sky. Then we have ego. Then noumenon is basically ether, vacuum. And then material nature. So all these kinds of details, Prabhupada very nicely explains that it is required for those who are unable to accept the normal form of the Lord, which is the most pleasing one. And again, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this Virat Rupa is just a form which was exhibited to give lessons that if we try to accept anybody and any Tom, Dick, and Harry as an incarnation of the Lord, we should ask that person to exhibit the universal form for that person to be accepted, for anyone to be accepted. So anyway, the main point is that Sukadeva Goswami is continuing the instructions to Maharaj Parikshit for controlling the mind. First, he started with the meditation. Then then he starts with the Virat Rupa. So this all we will see that he's going to explain, so that the greatness of the Lord can be understood in all its respects. Let us go to the next shloka, which is shloka number 27. 26. पातालमेतस्य हि पादमूलं पतन्ति पार्ष्णि प्रपदे रसातलं महातलं विश्वसृजोतगुल्फौ तलातलं वै पुरुषस्य जङ्गे. 1 minute. Can I request Rao Prabhu to read the translation and purport? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. Persons who have realized it have studied that the planets known as Patala constitute the bottoms of the feet of the universal Lord, and the heels and the toes are Rasatala planets. The ankles are the Mahatala planets, and his shanks constitute the Talatala planets. Purport. Outside the bodily existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the manifested cosmic existence has no reality. Everything and anything of the manifested world rests on him, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4. But that does not imply that everything and anything in the vision of a materialist is the Supreme Personality. The conception of the universal form of the Lord gives a chance to the materialist to think the Supreme Lord. But the materialist must know for certain that his visualization of the world in a spirit of lording over it is not God realization. The materialistic view of exploitation of the material resources is occasioned by the illusion of the external energy of the Lord. And as such, if anyone wants to realize the supreme truth by conceiving the universal form of the Lord, he must cultivate the service attitude. Unless the service attitude is revived, the conception of Virat realization will have very little effect on the seer. The transcendental Lord, in any conception of his form, is never a part of the material creation. He keeps his identity as a supreme spirit in all circumstances and is never affected by the three material qualities, for everything material is contaminated. The Lord always exists by his internal energy.
So, there is a further description in the shloka about the different hellish planets, and then he's also Srila Prabhupada is also very nicely explaining that the purpose when we say that whatever we see in the world outside is a manifestation of the energy of the Supreme Lord. When we are able to use those objects, we should not think that we are lording over it and we are exploiting it. When we do that, then our understanding is not correct. The correct understanding is that this has been given by the Lord for me to serve him. So if we go through the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord very nicely explains his opulences. Rasoham apsu kaunteya, I am the water, I am the air. He tells everything. So practically anything and everything which we see, which we experience in this world is basically given to us by Lord Krishna. Whatever we have today, our family, our husband, our wife, our children, our education, our so-called intelligence, our house, our car, everything is given by Lord Krishna. Nothing belongs to us. And he says in the 10th chapter, when we understand that everything is given by him as his mercy, and it is given by him to be used in his service, then the objects are also purified, we are also purified, our life is also purified. On the other hand, if we think that I have earned it, I have got it, I have achieved it, then it is the path, it is the start of the downward path. So the same thing is told very nicely in the first paragraph of the purport. The second paragraph, can I request Subal Prabhu to read? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I will read on behalf of him because
Yes, Mataji.
he had to go out. So the universe is the same thing, right, Prabhu? The purport.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
The universe is divided into 14 planetary systems. 7 planetary systems called as Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar, Mahar, Jana, Tapa, Satya, and Satyam are upward planetary systems, one above the other. There are also 7 planetary systems downwards, known as Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Palatal, gradually, one below another. In this verse, the description begins from the bottom because it is in the line of devotion that the Lord's bodily description should begin from his feet. Sukdev Goswami is a recognized devotee of the Lord, and he is exactly correct in the description. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So in the second purport, second paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada very nicely explains as to why it is starting from the foot of the Lord. So when we take darshan of the Lord, even when we go to the temple, the senior acharyas have told very clearly that the darshan which should start from the lotus feet of the Lord and then go upwards. So in this particular shloka, the description is starting from the lotus feet of the Lord. So it is said that the bottom of the feet of the universal Lord, of the Lord, is basically the Patala planet. So, and then the heels and the toes, they are the Rasatala planets, and the ankles are the Mahatala planets, and the shanks are the Talatala planets. There are 7 hellish planets. So it is being described from downwards. So let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 27. Dvejanuni sutalam vishwamurter urudvayam vitalam chatalam cha mahitalam tad jaganam mahipate nabhastalam nabhisaro grananti. Hare Krishna, can I request Sushil Prabhu to read the translation?
Yes, the knees of the universal form are the planetary system of the name Sutala, and the 2 thighs are the Vithala and Atala planetary systems. The hips are Mahatala, and the outer space is the depression of his navel.
So very nicely, it is being further described as to how the different personal body, the lotus body of the Lord, how the different features of the lotus body of the Lord are actually manifesting as the different planetary systems. We will go into the next shloka, which is shloka number 28. Urastalam jyotirani Grivamaharvadanam Vaijanosya Tapovaratim Viduradi Satyam tu Sirshani Sahasya Sirshnaha.
I'll continue, Prabhu. The chest
Yes,
of the
Prabhu.
original personality of the genetic form of the luminary planetary system. His neck is the Mahar planet, his mouth is the Janus planet, and his forehead is the Tapas planetary system. The topmost planetary system, known as Satyalok, is the head of he who has 1,000 heads. The effulgent luminary planets like the sun and the moon are situated almost in the mid place of the universe, and as such they are to be known as the chest of the original genetic form of the Lord. And above the luminary planets, called also the heavenly places of the universal directorate demigods, and are the Mahar, Janus, and Tapas planetary systems, and above all the Satyalok planetary systems, where the chief directors of the modes of material nature reside, namely Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiv. This Vishnu is known as Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and he acts as the super soul in every living being. There are innumerable universes floating on the cosmic ocean, and in each of them, the representation of the Virat form of the Lord is there, along with the innumerable suns, moons, heavenly demigods, Brahmas, Vishnus, and Shivas, all of them situated in one part of the inconceivable potency of the Lord Krishna, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.42.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, basically, the bottom half is referring to the hellish planets, and then the top half is referring to the heavenly planets. And we should not think that the hellish planets are fully contaminated. So the reason for the hellish planets, the reason for creation of the hellish planets is also to reform the sinful living entities so that they can understand as to how bad it is, how bad the material life is, so that they don't get attracted to the glitz and the glamour of the material world. So then let us go to the next shloka, which is shloka number 29. Indradayo bahava ahur ushraha karnau disha srotra mamusya sabda nasatyadashrau paramasya nashe granosya gandho mukhamagniridda.
Hare
Can
Krishna.
I request?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation: His arms are the demigods headed by Indra. The 10 directional sides are his ears, and physical sound is his sense of hearing. His nostrils are the 2 Ashwini Kumaras, and material fragrance is his sense of smell. His mouth is the blazing fire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The description of the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead made in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is further explained here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The description in the Bhagavad Gita 11.30 runs as follows. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your blazing mouths and covering all the universe by your immeasurable rays. Scorching the worlds, you are manifest. In that way, Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study for the student of Bhagavad Gita. Both of them are the science of Krishna, the absolute truth, and so they are interdependent. The conception of the Virat Purush, or the gigantic form of the Supreme Lord, is said to include all the dominating demigods as well as the dominated living beings. Even the minutest part of a living being is controlled by the empowered agency of the Lord. Since the demigods are included in the gigantic form of the Lord, worship of the Lord, whether in his gigantic material conception or in his eternal transcendental form as Lord Shri Krishna, also appeases the demigods and all the other parts and parcels, as much as watering the root of a tree distributes energy to all of the tree's other parts. Consequently, for a materialist also, worship of the universal gigantic form of the Lord leads one to the right path. One did not risk being misled by approaching many demigods for fulfillment of different desires. The real entity is the Lord himself, and all the others are imaginary, for everything is included in him only. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, it is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport that one of the lessons which we need to understand from the Virat Rupa manifestation of the Lord is that all the demigods are contained in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no need to engage in separate worship, and when we worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, it is equivalent and to offer our obeisances to all the 33 crore demigods. And this shloka also, it is very nicely explained that his arms, means the arms of the Lord Krishna, are basically the demigods, which are headed by Indra. Then his 10 directional sides are basically his ears. So we have this, what is that? The northeast, southwest, and then the we have within those between those two, for example, between north and the east, we have northeast, like that we have another 4, and then we have the top and down, so totally 10 directional sides. And then the physical sound, whatever sound we are hearing, basically is his sense of hearing. And his nostrils are the 2 Ashwini Kumaras, and the fragrance which we are experiencing in this material world is actually his smell, his sense of smell. And the fire is actually his mouth. So these are all some things which some of us may find difficult to conceive or to understand. All we need to be clear is only one thing, that when we worship Lord Krishna, it is equivalent to worshipping all the 33 crore demigods. And Srila Prabhupada used to always give this example, and this example is coming again in this purport, that it is when we water the root of a tree, it distributes energy to all the trees. We don't water the leaves separately, flowers separately, and things like that. So similarly, when we worship Lord Krishna, it is equivalent to worshipping all the demigods. Let us go to the last shloka for today, shloka number 30. Dyaurакшini chakshurabhut patanga Bhakshmani Vishwarahani Ubecha Tadru Vijramba Parameshti Dishnyam Aposyatalu Rasayeva Jiva. Can I request?
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The sphere of outer space constitutes his eye pits and the eyeball in the sun as the power of seeing. His eyelids are both the day and night, and in the movement of his eyebrows, Brahma and similar supreme personalities reside. His palate is the director of water, Varna, and the juice of essence of everything in his tongue. Is his tongue. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. To common sense, the description of his verse appears to be somewhat contradictory, because sometimes the sun has been described as the eyeball and sometimes as the outer space sphere. But there is no room for common sense in the injection of the Shastras. We must accept the description of the Shastras and concentrate more on the form of the Virat Roop than a common sense. Common sense is always imperfect, whereas the description in the Shastras is always perfect and complete. If there is any incongruity, it is due to our imperfection and not the Shastras. This is the method of approaching Vedic wisdom. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, our senses, we human beings have 4 kinds of imperfections. And most of you must have heard about this already. So the first thing is that our senses are imperfect. So the senses are imperfect means we think that our eyes are perfect. But can we see anything outside this room? No. We think that we are able to hear everything. So there are so many wavelengths which can be heard by the bats, which we cannot hear. We think that we have very good nose. So there are so many smell which animals like wolves and dogs can pick up, which we cannot pick up. All of us know that because of these olfactory abilities, dog is employed in tracing out criminals. So similarly, so our senses are imperfect. That is the first fault. The second fault is that our propensity to cheat. So we somehow try to cheat, thinking that nobody is watching. So this is the second propensity. The third propensity is to commit mistakes. How much ever we try to be perfect, there is nobody who has not done mistakes. So this is the third imperfection. The fourth imperfection is that we are under illusion. So what is the meaning of illusion? The meaning of illusion is to think of correct as incorrect and incorrect as correct. So is it okay to take 2 or 3 minutes to explain this with an example? Hare Krishna, I'm asking because I'm running out of time.
Please, yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji, it is fine.
Hare Krishna. So this was a wonderful example told by His Grace Jagat Sakshi Prabhu, who is the temple president of ISKCON Tirunandapuram. So he said that there was a deer which was drinking water in a pond, and when the deer put his head down to drink the water, in the reflection of the pond, in the reflection of the water, the deer saw a tiger which is behind, and it started to run. The deer started to run for its life, and then the tiger was chasing. So then before the this thing started to before it saw the tiger, when it was looking at the pond, when it was looking at the water, it was looking at its face. So it was thinking, what a beautiful face I have. Then it saw its horns. It saw, what a beautiful horn I have. Then it looked at its body. Oh my God, I have such a wonderful aerodynamic body. Then it looked at its legs. Its legs are very thin, just like sticks. So it thought that my body, my face, and my horns are very nice. If I had a little more thicker legs, I would have looked even more better. And when it was just thinking about that, it saw the reflection of the tiger in the water, and then it started to run. The tiger started to chase. So it ran through narrow paddy fields, and it ran through bunds which has so many kinds of places. And in one particular place, there was a bund kind of formation, and trees, plants were coming on both sides like this, and then the deer was running through that, and the horn of the deer got stuck in that plant, and the tiger caught the deer, and the tiger's breakfast or lunch or dinner was taken care of. So now the deer thought that the thing to be improved in its body was its leg. But for the time when the deer was escaping from the tiger, what was the reason for its escape? Its leg, which it thought was not good. And what was the reason for it getting caught? Its horns. That particular part of the body which it thought was so beautiful. So Jagat Sakshi Prabhu explained that this is the situation with each and every one of us. We think that I am good at this, I am good at that, and we have our own perceptions of our weaknesses. And if we improve that, it will be better. But we don't know that what we think is a disadvantage may actually be our advantage, and vice versa. And very nicely, Srila Prabhupada mentions that don't worry about using your intelligence in understanding the Lord. Just go with the descriptions. Just go with the message, what is told in the Shastras. So this is what is brought out in this purport. For the common sense is always imperfect and the illusion. I just wanted to re-quote the analogy which was explained by His Grace Jagat Sakshi Prabhu in one of the satsang in DDY several years back. So we saw to 9 shlokas today, from 22 to 30. So when Maharaj Parikshit is asking about how to concentrate the mind, first Sukadeva Goswami starts about the sitting posture, and then he talks about the formation of the planet, gradually telling that the whole material world is actually the manifestation of the lotus body of the Supreme Lord. And then he talks about where how the legs how the bottom half are the hellish planets, upper half are the heavenly planets, and his arms, his fragrance, his mouth, his everything. So the thing to understand is that each and everything which we see outside is a manifestation of the energy of the Lord, and it has been given to us to be used to serve Him. And in each and everything which we see, we should see the greatness, the magnificence of the Lord, and we should always be grateful to the Lord for whatever He has given us. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. I again thank His Grace Subal Prabhu and all the devotees for giving me an opportunity and listening patiently, though I exceeded more than approximately around 12 minutes from that allotted time. So if anybody has any comments, anything to add, please feel free. And if there's any doubts, we will try to understand by the mercy of Lord Krishna and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Mani, firstly, many thanks. Absolutely wonderful class. Prabhu, the timing is until 11:30. So we are perfectly within the time. And in case you want to explain anything further also, please feel free. We will be more than happy to listen to you. Otherwise, we can take questions as you feel appropriate.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Sushil Prabhu, you wanted to say anything? Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, say that initially when the King Parikshit asked, he didn't intended to ask about the Virat Roop because he was already a pure devotee. But the discussion has started mainly on the Virat Roop, which is only meant for the neophytes.
Yes, as Srila Prabhupada rightly mentioned in the purport, this particular question was asked by Maharaj Parikshit for the benefit of the common man. So he was definitely not a neophyte. And since in his womb itself he saw the manifestation of Lord Krishna when he was protected from the Brahmastra, there was no need for explanation of Virat Rupa to him. But since Sukadeva Goswami is also aware that this question is being asked for the benefit of the general public. If you go through the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which you have already finished, there are 6 questions. And the first question is that what a person should do for the general benefit. Please summarize the teachings of the scriptures. Bhurini Bhuri Karmani means there are so many scriptures, but please summarize them for the general, for the benefit of the general public, since we don't have time to go through that. Similarly, the question of Maharaj Parikshit was just how to control the mind, but the reason why Sukadeva Goswami, we will see in the, this is only the starting. The first chapter is only the starting.
I can understand he wanted
description.
to, it's for general public, so they, unless you know the entire thing, you will not be able to understand. So that's okay. Secondly, Prabhu, in 28th verse, they said Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, but, and the purport says they are in Satyalok. I slightly feel, is it so? If we see that the chief directors of the modes of material nature reside, namely Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva. This Vishnu is known as Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and they say that they are all the part of Satyalok. That is the lok of Brahma. But Vishnu, I don't think will be a part of Brahma lok.
So this is also the reason why we are trying to understand the limited by our, we are trying to understand the unlimited by our limited intelligence. And that is the reason why in the purport of the last shloka which we saw for today, which is the shloka number 30, that Srila Prabhupada explains that when it comes to understanding the Lord, just go by the description which is given in the Shastras. Let us not try to use our common sense in understanding the message, in understanding what is told in the scriptures. So as far as the Vishnu is concerned, like it is not that there is only 3 Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu and Karnodakshaya Vishnu. So like Krishna has millions and millions of manifestations, Vishnu has millions and millions of manifestations. And the controlling of the 3 modes of material nature, the controller of the Sattva Guna is Vishnu. The controller of Rajoguna is Brahma. The controller of Tamo Guna is Lord Shiva. So one thing we should avoid, one mistake we should not make in understanding is that this particular Lord, these particular 3 lords, they are the controller of the guna, they are not in that guna. So there are some people who misunderstand that, for example, Brahma, since he is the controller of Rajaguna, he is in Rajaguna, and so on and so forth. So they are only the controllers, they are not in that particular guna, they are in Shuddha Sattva. So these 3 Satyalokas is not this Vishnu which is mentioned there is not the 3 is not out of those 3 Vishnus. So there are millions of other Vishnus which are there along, which are created along with the millions of other universes. So it is not that one of those 3, Garbhodakshaya, Shirodakshaya, Karnodakshaya, Vishnu. That is something which we need to be clear. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Anybody
Hare
has
Krishna.
a question? Rao Prabhu, Sumati Mataji, Uday Prabhu, any question? Nahi?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Nothing, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Prabhu, Bandhu Baladev Prabhu, thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. Also, sorry you had to take up this lecture at a very short notice also. And it's good that we have an opportunity to hear you again in the next week also. So
Hare Krishna.
many thanks, and looking forward to the next Saturday.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
So thank you all.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
all for joining. Thank you, Bandhu Baldev Prabhu again. Thanks for wonderful lecture.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bye. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.